different periods, people have proposed various perspectives to explain the planet we live on. At times, we believed that the Earth was flat. Then there were times when we thought we were at the center of the universe, with all other celestial bodies revolving around us. This shows that viewpoints considered correct and accurate today can change in the blink of an eye. Today, thanks to the remarkable development of science and technology, we know the Earth is an imperfect sphere, orbiting the Sun along with other planets in the system. You and I were taught, heard, and learned about this since our school days. But what if right now I reveal a horrifying secret that could overturn your perception of this world once again? That secret contains a higher frequency world existing right inside the Earth, about a fierce battle between species, and about ancient civilizations beyond our current understanding. All these fascinating things I just mentioned will be revealed in the video, The Hidden Truth About Earth through Radu Cinamar's story. See you again in the next video. Do you know who Radu Cinamar is? Why does this person hold secrets about the world? Can we trust this secret? Radu Cinamar, a former member of Romania's Department Zero. Department Zero was established as a top-secret organization directly under the Romanian military. Only a few heads of defense and security departments, as well as the government, were allowed to know about the organization's existence. With such a special status, Department Zero was responsible for investigating, documenting, and coordinating with secret organizations of other countries. High events. Not only secret to outsiders, even colleagues within Department Zero were not permitted to know about each other's cases. They were typically assigned to monitor and clarify only one specific case. Accordingly, Radu Cinamar and his partner Cezar Brac's mission was to monitor anomalies around this structure, the Romanian Sphinx. Although not as majestic as the Egyptian one, and resembling a naturally eroded rock formation, it became famous in an unexpected way. In this area, people often reported being attacked by strange creatures, seeing UFOs, or unexplained disappearance cases. Over time, local residents often believed there was an alien base inside the mountain or something mysterious attracting unidentified flying objects frequently in this area. After many days of arduous investigation, even in their wildest dreams, few could imagine what Radu and his partner found. They discovered a secret room beneath the Sphinx. It seemed to be built by something non-human. And the secret room beneath the Romanian Sphinx was also the starting point for everything. Since 2009, Radu has compiled his and his partner's findings into successively published books. Each caused worldwide shock with the information they revealed. The Lost Secret of Earth. The journey exploring the secret chamber beneath the Romanian Sphinx is described in relative detail in this book. Moreover, it reveals many astonishing pieces of information about species and secret worlds coexisting parallel to us. Continuing the journey, inside the secret room, Radu and Cezar found a tunnel. Upon entering, they encountered a creature they called Green, representing the underground world. Green introduced the city of Epochs at the Earth's center, home to the Apellian people, to the two guests from the surface. As appearance, Radu was quite surprised that inhabitants of the underground world weren't. Although it was their first meeting, surprisingly the Apellians could communicate with Radu in Romanian, possibly using high technology to assist with this. The existence of a small community underground is already unscientific to most listeners, let alone an entire vast world. If this world is real, why haven't we found it until now? Before getting to the real reason, we can simply explain that humans haven't found the entrances leading to that world. These entrances are usually located in places almost unknown or extremely difficult to access, such as the secret room at the Romanian Sphinx, for example. Moreover, once you step into the range of the gateway between the two worlds, everything changes completely. You become completely isolated from the world above. Mobile phones, GPS, or any technological devices from the surface are completely useless here. Dream invited Radu and his partner to visit one of their bases and hoped he would be the connector between this underground world and the surface world. He helped but marvel at the Apellians. First, their three-dimensional technology far surpasses what we have today. It turns us into objects within a large panoramic scene, similar to Thanos using the reality stone in the movie. Using this technology, they protected a cross-section of the Earth, and the entire underground world appeared clearly. And most notably, the map of entrances to the underground world also became clearly visible. The Apellians said that some of these entrance structures were built by them, while others were constructed by other civilizations in the universe. Each location has crucial positions connecting to the world inside the Earth. Not only that, some of them are simultaneously alien bases. Besides these entrances, there are special points where people can go directly to specific locations inside the Earth. Those points are usually places where the frequency of reality is chaotic, silent zones, or temporary sensory distortion. This also proves that the underground world Radu is exploring belongs to a different frequency, a higher vibrational frequency. Therefore, people today cannot find it. A completely new short-hair experience, the styling work 15 in 30 minutes, featuring a 10-step haircut and wash service at a flat rate of 100 points. Dick Boot Ang Cap. It still sounds confusing from here. How does the world inside the Earth exist? It is not wrong to say that there is a stream of molten lava beneath the surface filling our planet. But at a depth of about 2,500 kilometers below the surface, we can easily access the world where Dream and the Apellian live. When reaching that depth, with just a few maneuvers, entering a higher frequency space is entirely feasible. However, relying solely on verbal accounts makes it very difficult to verify the existence of this world. We need more specific evidence. A typical piece of evidence for the existence of an inner world within the Earth is the mysterious Mayan calendar, the Tzolk'in calendar. This calendar has 260 days, but no one knows how the 260 days are calculated, nor does anyone know when the Tzolk'in calendar began to be used. Only know that from the earliest times, the Maya used it. The inexplicable thing is that the Mayans actually knew early on that one orbital rotation of the Earth is 365 days. So around 500 BC, they created a 365-day calendar called the Hap calendar. But they did not abandon the 260-day Tzolk'in calendar after having the Hap calendar, but combined both to create a strange calendar system with a 52-year cycle. On this issue, Radu has a very good answer. He said that 260 days is precisely the annual cycle of the world within the Earth. Because during his visit to the world within the Earth, he met the descendants of the ancient Maya. If the ancient Mayans frequently interacted with the underground world, it is not surprising that they combined the calendar of that world with the Earth's calendar.
Just like clocks in many hotel lobbies display the time in different time zones.
But few other amazing things to mention on the ecosystem. In the strange world, Radu encountered long extinct Earth insects. Although the technology of the underground world is far more advanced than ours. But there were absolutely no dams, power plants, or any other industrial projects there.
They live in great harmony with nature.
When Radu returned, he and his colleagues were very happy to share what they had witnessed with. The two continuously discussed the underground world together. According to their explanation, the reason the two were able to reach a different spatial frequency, it is because they can adjust their own vibration frequency to match that of the other world. Of course, it's a good one. In principle, it's like an FM radio tuning into a frequency to receive radio signals. But not everyone can do. The Earth is currently in a period of frequency transition, moving toward a higher frequency and advancing into a four-dimensional space. For humanity on the surface, this process occurs through differentiation. Some special individuals can increase their own frequency, approaching the four-dimensional space.
However, for the majority of humanity, this is not achievable. They are accustomed to low frequency. Living in the material world of the old Earth suits them better. So, when the Earth sublimates to a high frequency, where will the people who remain at the current frequency go?
This issue will become a notable concern in the future as the frequency transition process becomes more widespread.
Radu and his colleagues also temporarily refrained from mentioning it further.
Beyond the theory of a high-frequency world existing within the Earth, Radu Cinamar also did not forget to mention other astonishing facts he learned during the special encounter with the Apelian people.
Accordingly, Radu reveals in the book that
Earth 100,000 years ago was the site of an extremely fierce battle among many species in the universe.
At that time, our planet was a place where many different races coexisted.
And among these civilizations, a conflict of great destructiveness arose. Advanced weapons and weapons of mass destruction were all deployed as the space was engulfed in smoke, fire, and death. Because the scale is more horrific than any war humanity has.
But if this is true, then who started the war? These are the ones who caused the disaster. Reptiles or reptilians.
Radu described this species as the most brutal race in the universe. They have absolutely no peaceful goodwill towards any other race. Possessing many transcendent characteristics, a large body, and extremely high. But the reptilians cannot solve the reproduction. This species has a very, very long life. Therefore, the reproductive age of an individual is also excessive. This forces the reptilians to continuously seek new lands to support their increasingly populous climate. However, instead of coexisting peacefully and supporting the native civilization,
the reptilians choose to invade and obliterate those civilizations.
From a practical standpoint, this is a quite reasonable option.
Because transforming a planet from a primitive state to one suitable for life requires much more effort and time than conquering it.
Moreover, if they can select a relatively developed civilization, such as current humans, the reptilians also have many established foundations for exploiting resources and energy,
as well as many other important networks already set up.
However, this does not mean that the reptilians always cause the conflict. They have much more insidious methods to avoid bloodshed. In most situations, reptilians are not savage invaders. The war 100,000 years ago was nearly an exception. They usually use advanced technological means to interfere with a target civilization. Most commonly, reptilians will find ways to introduce their DNA into other civilizations through various alien individuals.
Then they use every method to place these half-human, half-reptilian creatures in key positions. Year after year, the number of spies increases until they have enough influence to affect the civilization's policies. Radu says this is a type of insidious method, but effective, by which the reptilians spread their cruel influence throughout the world.
And that could also be how they operate on Earth.
Is this true? Could it be that we today are still seeing the influence of reptilians in our own homeland? First, we can see that abductions by aliens are relatively common in UFO-related reports throughout history.
In just over half a century since UFOs began to be officially studied, thousands of abduction cases show that aliens really need human bodies for some purpose. And if that purpose is to extract DNA and create hybrid individuals, then we should not be surprised at all.
Second, theories that high-level leaders of countries or outstanding current figures are reptilians are
Extremely common. They provide many convincing pieces of evidence. Within the scope of today's video, we cannot analyze these hypotheses in detail. You can easily find more about them on the internet.
In conclusion, even in the world we dominate, it is not impossible that some forces, specifically reptilians, are silently manipulating and undermining.
Hopefully, humanity will always remain sober and highly vigilant to avoid unfortunate consequences. As mentioned, the war 100,000 years ago was basically just an exception. Radu Cinamar and his colleagues share the same view. The causes of the war stem from many objective and subjective factors, as well as intense conflicts of interest between species. This can be illustrated by the situation on Earth at that time. At that time, Earth was divided into different regions by alien civilizations. Each region had its own population and distinctive.
They formed an alliance called the Galactic Alliance. Through insidious infiltration, the negative thoughts and behaviors of the Redulians gradually spread to many other civilizations, with the most significant manifestation being the community becoming increasingly divided.
And this type of influence over time also created huge gaps and divisions in society. When their influence was sufficient, the reptilians successfully controlled some civilizations within the Galactic Alliance and revealed their ambitions for Earth and some territories in the solar system. And so, conflicts occurred, and war broke out when the Galactic Alliance dissolved.
But how did this war end, and what changes did it bring to the relations between civilizations? In his book, Radu also mentions many events that occurred after the war, and particularly introduces other civilizations on Earth that developed after the intense war period.
The war ended with certain successes for each side. Unaffected and non-manipulated civilizations united to form a new alliance to protect each other.
On the other hand,
the reptilians also allied with some civilizations they controlled to form a stronger alliance, promoting territorial expansion and invading other places.
Additionally, there were some neutral civilizations that did not want to join any cosmic alliance. They were called observers, completely independent and autonomous, with their own plans for self-protection. So what about Earth? Did our planet undergo any notable changes after that battle? After the war ended, fortunately, Earth was no longer a place exploited by other civilizations as before, though some ancient indigenous civilizations developed throughout history.
For example, the Atlantis civilization, which mysteriously disappeared over 10,000 years ago. Radu Cinamar reveals many similar civilizations that existed even before Atlantis. Around 70,000 years BC, a civilization named Tarsus developed remarkably and excellently. This was a semi-divine civilization, so they existed on a completely different plane from us today. The Tarsus people were more slender, healthier, and taller than modern humans. At that time, the central and northern parts of Europe had many space gates connecting from the inner world of the Earth. Through these gates, the Tarsus people freely moved between two worlds. But then the Tarsus civilization also encountered age-old problems. Groups of people, even demigods, still gave rise to many disagreements over interests. These disagreements manifested from power, wealth to religion, leading to large-scale war once again. Radu described it as no less terrible than the war between civilizations that had ended.
The war was so brutal it was hard to imagine, with millions of casualties. Thus, the Tarsus civilization perished.
Many gates not connected to the underground world were also destroyed.
The lucky survivors migrated north and later developed into the Hyperborean civilization.
Although there is no archaeological evidence proving the existence of the Hyperborean civilization, but the Hyperborea that Radu described is very authentic.
Almost all human races today originated here. White, black, yellow-skinned people, along with other races we no longer see today.
However, it learned a profound lesson from the previous civilization. The Hyperboreans did not establish nations by race, but formed a unified government combining politics and religion. This civilization existed until around 14,000 BC. Afterward, one part migrated further north. Another part moved east to Asia.
The majority moved south.
And one branch among them built a magnificent city on the Mediterranean coast in Turkey.
That is the city in legend.
Not far from there in Egypt, where the Nile flows into the sea, there was another ancient civilization. Originating around 30,000 years ago, it also developed, but it was still affected when the Atlantis civilization collapsed and sank to the seabed. That civilization existed on a giant contiguous city named Hellas. Its inhabitants were all very tall, about 3 to 4 meters, equivalent to giants in some legends.
They had magnificent architecture and many statues, roofs, palaces, or fountains thickly plated with gold.
Even cast in gold, shimmering brightly under the sunlight.
If you're imagining the legendary Golden City of El Dorado, this place might not be inferior.
Besides the time-space case, this city is what Radu mentions the most.
Speaking of Egypt, perhaps we should briefly mention the pyramids. Although everyone believes that the pyramids were used as tombs for pharaohs,
but increasing archaeological evidence points to something entirely different. Especially among them is the precise reciprocal relationship between the 3 Great Pyramids and the 3 stars of the Orion constellation, indicating that the construction of the pyramids is very likely related to distant planets. Radu believes that the pyramid is essentially a giant resonance machine, used to receive energy and information from distant star systems, similar to the mobile signal relay stations found everywhere today.
This is why the different sizes of the pyramids
can correspond to many parameters of cosmos, with numbers so precise they are almost perfect. The things Radu Cinamar reveals about the world inside the Earth, or the ancient war that once took place on Earth, are bound to cause countless controversies. Many people believe that just the detail of advanced civilizations existing since it
is already too unscientific.
Although it has been explained by their existence in higher frequencies, that is still not enough to convince the vast majority of people.
We need more evidence, or at least other theories.
As the hypothesis proposed at the beginning, 1. Some people are in the process of transitioning to a higher. 2. Therefore, if a civilization 3. Including Tarsus and Hyper 4. Then they must have certainly undergone a similar development. 5. They were not born in high-frequency space. 6. But also had to gradually develop through various 7. And when they reached sufficient scientific and technical 8. This also means that those civilizations existed in the same spatial frequency as we do today. 9. For millions, tens of billions, even hundreds of millions of years before the change occurred.
10. But can we prove this argument or not?
11. In my personal opinion, ancient civilizations were completely capable of developing before we were born millions of years ago. 12. Complex life on our planet has existed for at least 400 million. 13. While primitive life began 3.5 billion. 14. However, as a species. 15. We only began trying to build an industrial civilization about 16. That leaves over 3 billion years of pre-human history completely unknown. 17. A period too long for the rise and fall of not just one. 18. But multiple pre-human industrial civilizations.
19. What if an earlier industrial civilization had existed on Earth? 20. If so, how could we prove or disprove that?
21. This is the core of the Silurian hypothesis. 22. A fascinating thought experiment that appeared in a 2018 study published in International Biology. 23. In the BBC science fiction television series called Doctor Who. 24. An alien species called Silurians exist. 25. These are humanoid reptiles with advanced technology, living. 26. Perhaps you also see this species as similar. 27. Homo sapiens first appeared on Earth about 300,000 years. 28. The question of whether pre-human civilizations existed led two professors to decide to search for evidence. 29. In the period from 4 million to 400 million years ago. Will they 30. Going back hundreds of millions of years to find traces of a potential civilization, pre-Homo sapiens, is not an easy task. 31. After a few million years, Earth is quite reshaped. You won't have any statues, buildings, or anything else left. 32. The fossil record hardly exists because everything would turn to dust. 33. The only evidence would be in the form of chemical. 34. You would have to examine each rock layer, then try to detect trends, looking for changes in elements like carbon or oxygen isotopes. 35. An industrial civilization would release a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. 36. Nuclear or nanoparticles would also be good traces indicating an industrial civilization had. 37. That's all we need to find out. 38. Many scientists are attracted to the geological history period called the Paleocene. 39. Because something strange happened on our planet 56 billion years ago. 40. The Earth's average temperature spiked abnormally. 41. Is this evidence for the existence of an industrial? 42. They investigated carbon and oxygen isotope ratios from PETM, and evidence suggests they found an industrial. 43. They investigated carbon and oxygen isotope ratios from PETM, and 44. But they also saw a temperature decline, and all of this happened over hundreds of thousands of years, not as fast as the rate carbon. 45. People also examined other sudden events throughout the time visible in the geological record. 46. Including ocean anoxic events, when oceans became depleted of oxygen, and extinction events. 47. Unsurprisingly, there were also not signs of an industrial civilization.
48. In 1324, English theologian William of Ockham proposed a famous philosophical theory called Occam's razor.
49. Implying that a scientific problem is explained with the fewest hypotheses. 50. The hypothesis that Earth might have nurtured long-extinct industrials, and the fact that this existence could be recorded in geological records related to signs of actual climate change is truly fascinating. However, even the authors find it difficult to regard that as true. If a previous industrial civilization existed and they advanced to a higher frequency is entirely possible. Because the Silurian hypothesis suggests that the more sustainable a society is in generating energy and producing resources, the more advanced it can be said to be, and the smaller the footprint it leaves on the planet.
According to available estimates, our civilization will leave traces for about 10 to 20 million years after we disappear.
In the case where the industrial activity of a previous species was,
we would not be able to detect it in ancient sediment layers with current tools and methods. If you want to search for evidence of a previous civilization, you must conduct unprecedented research and develop new methods.
Although it's also possible that we will never find them, due to the intentional erasure of remaining traces before advancing to the higher frequency space of the previous civilization.
At this point,
Radu Cinamar's story has likely gained reasonable connecting links.
We may not completely believe in it, but clearly we cannot completely deny it either. Let's discuss more about the mysteries of the underground world and higher frequency space in the comments section of this video.
Thank you very much for your interest and following in today's video. Considering the timely flow of topics, wishing everyone a good day with your family. Please subscribe to the Dark Truth Files channel to support the Lala School channel.